it's a screwed up life. I didn't want to write this book. I'm going to tell you right now. I did this kicking. My buddy Sam said therapeutically, write the book.
Welcome to Supernormalized, the podcast where we challenge the conventional, break boundaries, and normalize the seemingly supernatural. Join me, CJ Barnaby, in the liminalist space to explore less charted realms of existence and to unravel the mysteries of life experience. Each episode, I'm blessed with the opportunity to talk to regular people from across the world where they openly share their understanding and wisdom in service to others. If you're looking to upgrade your life, you've come to the right place. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll bring you great transforming conversations each week. My treasured viewers and listeners, if you have a life story or healing modality or unique knowledge that you'd love to share, reach out to me at supernormalized@proton.me. Let's together embrace acceptance of the supernatural and unusual, what it really is, completely normal. Today's episode of Supernormalized features Aiden Gabor, a former mob associate turned courageous whistleblower whose incredible story is captured in his memoir, Conflicting Loyalties. Aiden is quite the character growing up in a inner city sort of community and was pretty much weaved into a life of crime just by hanging around the mob and being in the wrong place at the right time to make the right connections, and seeing his abilities and how they had come through from basically his mother's story, which is quite wild. You'll be interested to hear that as well. Yeah, led him into a life of crime, which was tumultuous and dangerous and basically, from what you see in all the movies and everything, pretty much like that. Crazy. Yeah. Aiden shares of his story and how that changed when he became an informant for, I think it was the FBI, and ended up putting away a lot of mobsters and corrupt police as a part of the work that he was doing to get his potential sentence of 75 years off his back. So it's quite a wild story. I enjoyed having a talk with Aiden because he's very well spoken and connects everything together really clearly, even though he thinks he doesn't. Although he said so at the end, it was like, no, that just all made sense to me. And it's interesting how it drew him to a life where he got a faith and found a new way to be in the world. So it's a great story. I've really enjoyed the story and enjoyed the communication that we've shared today. And yeah, I'm sure you will too. So on with the show. Welcome to Supernormalized, Aiden Gabor. Aiden, you've had quite a tumultuous life that has taken you through a lot of different places and a lot of different states of being. But a part of that story was the involvement in organized crime as a youngster that actually then put you in a position where you were forced to make a life decision. Would you like to round out that sort of story? And welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, sir. It's a pleasure being on.
So tell us about your early life and what happened there.
Oh, it was. I started out when I was like about 9 or 10. We'd have gatherings on people coming from the old country, the grandmas and moms, and we would have like a barbecue. We'd have food, so as a child, all the families would get together.
Yeah.
And we'd be outside and have little scuffles, and I would, we get actually sometimes pretty good fights, because people start their shit. And I was beating, getting into scuffles with kids 4, 5, 6 years older than me, and staying with them. And it was a gravel area, and we were kind of in the back away where you really couldn't see where you know, boys would be boys, I guess you could say. And I mean, there was a couple times I got bloodied up, and one time the cops showed up and tell us what's going on. Well, they knew the one boy I was going against, he's had a record. He's like, tell us what he's doing to you. And I'm like, no, you showed me how to wrestle. He's like, you can tell us now. He showed me how to wrestle. Get the F out of here.
Mm.
And I mean, I was glad we'd come in and I would hang with these guys, and we would have people tell us to come, hey, go get me this. Can you go get me that?
Yeah.
And you had to respect it. You did when one of the, especially if a capo like Eddie would ask me to go get him something. You learned that you don't say no. You just went and did it.
Mm.
And after a while, he's like, "What's going on out there?" And we're like, "Nothing." He says, "Where'd you get the bloody lip from?" And stuff. My dad would be sitting there, and Dad's like, "Oh, no, we're just playing. We're wrestling." And nobody, I didn't say anything. Some kids would come in crying that so and so beat up on me. I never did that. And
Mm.
one day he just looked at me and he said, "Hey, can you ride your bike to the shop? I got something for you and make a little bit of money." And I said, "Sure, but I'm not doing anything." I wasn't doing anything. So I rode my bike up there and he's like, "Take this package to this address. You know where it's at." He kind of wrote a little map, and then you drop it off and give it to this person. And then when you're done, bring it home. Don't look in it. Don't stop for anybody. You just go and do that. They may give you something to come back. So I did it, and I come back, and he'd give me $20, and he's like, "Okay, go ahead, Fed, for today, thank you." And I would run and go get candy. I was a king with all my buddies. 20 back in that time, $20 of candy was a lot of candy for kids.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I started doing this, and Eddie saw something in me, and I just started doing that. Worked my way up to taught. They taught me how to steal, how to drive, taught me how to shoot, how to use a knife and ice pick, how to steal cars.
Yeah.
As I was growing up, my adolescence was there, and I would always spend time there. I mean, I would clean the shop, I would sweep the shop. We had like like a little what do you call it, like a club there. And guys would go in there and they would have a little bit to drink, and then you get food delivered and stuff, and they would play cards, and I would go and clean up after them and stuff, and work my way up. I mean, there was one incident where this guy Dominic, which was Eddie's right hand man, pushed me really hard into the wall. I grabbed the broom's handle and hit him with it as
Mm.
hard as I can. Next thing I know, he swung a gun in my face.
Oh God.
And then he's like, enough, enough. And he pulled me up and says, "You got to watch yourself because you're respecting." I wasn't very, he pushed me. He goes, "Okay, you know what? You just got to sometimes let things go." And I'm like, "No, I don't do that." And he's just like, "All right, well, that's enough." And I just worked my way up to one day we start collecting from like stores and people around the neighborhood, and then for genetic gamblers and stuff, the thing we did, we stole cars. It was a little chop shop. It loan sharked. It did collections for like protection, and gambling was a big thing. And then they had prostitution, and I was not allowed to go by the prostitution part. Being an adolescent, being a teenager, they didn't think they would want me by the girls and stuff like that. But I saw them. I never got to go close to them. Never got to talk to them. They said, "Stay away."
Mm.
And after I grew up all the way up till doing that, and all the way up until I went to college. I was a little late in life. I went to college at 19, going on 20.
Right. So we got up to the age of 20, and then what happened?
Well, after that, what happened was we got about 20. I didn't think I'd ever leave there. That's the reason it took. And Eddie came to me, and going back, we worked way up that. I would steal cars, had a couple of us stealing cars, and then I would be an enforcer where I would go collect
Mm.
and beat up people. And I mean, I had a nickname that I didn't like, and I'll say it to you before I got to the age, I was like, I was 16. I was 16.
Mm.
And we were sitting there having something to eat at a little deli, and there was somebody walking by, and Eddie goes, "Hey, that guy owes me money. He owes me like 20 grand." And I just went tearing off. And I hit the guy with my left hand, and he went down, and I just started kicking the crap out of him before Dominic showed up. And he's like, "Chut, you got these bleeding." And I'm just beating the crap out of him, just kicking him in the face, kicking him in the rubber. And he's like, "You better get the money. This is just a warning." And then that Dominic said, and he looks at me, he goes, "You still eating a sandwich?" I'm like, "What? You're
What?
still eating a sandwich?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like this sandwich. I'm putting this down. It's corned beef. It's the best sandwich." Oh my. And we're like, go back. You go, "Hey, let me tell you something. Hey, this kid's eating a sandwich while kicking the crap out of this guy." He goes, "Really?" He goes, "You know what? We're gonna call him Sandwich. Aiden
Oh no.
Sandwich Gabor." And I hate it to this. I hate that name.
Oh no.
That was the worst name in the world to get. Everybody gets a little nickname,
Yeah.
and yeah, I got the stupid sandwich, and that's what hey, sandwich, come here, bring me that over. I'm like, fuck off. I'm like, okay, I'll be right there. You know, you work
Mm,
your way up, and
yeah.
and Eddie just saw something. I would collect from go to the mom and pop places. They never had an issue with them.
Mm,
Sometimes I had an issue with somebody from a different crew showing up in our territory and they're poaching. Then they get in trouble. You have a good reason why, or you're going to end up on a very bad day.
yeah.
We had a couple of those, and and genetic gamblers and all that. And I would collect them. Everybody says, yeah, I carried a baseball bat in my car, but I carried a mitt and a ball. And everybody's like, "Well, what do you got?" Because if you get pulled over, you got all that together. Say, "I'm ready to play baseball anytime. I don't just have the bat; I have everything in there for it."
Mm,
So there's no way you can go against you with that.
right.
And I used to like to hit people's ankles because it made a different ding or pop when you hit them. And when they went to the ground, if you hit them in the knee, they might be able to get up. You hit them in the ankles, I'm going to tell you right now, you get hit in those ankles in the right spot, you're not getting up. I have total control.
Mm,
And everybody's like, "Why would you hit them down there? That really can mess them up." Yeah, it did mess up some people, but they got the point.
mm,
But I worked my way up being an enforcer and learning how to use a nice pick, like I said, how to shoot, how to drive a car. And one day when I was about 19, I was doing good and I loved the money. And Eddie came to me and said, "You got to go." I mean, there's like no one at the shop. He goes, the FBI's arrested everybody. They arrested Nikki, they arrested Dominic, they arrested Joey, they arrested all the guys that were in the crew. And he said, "I'm leaving." And he goes, you have a chance. You haven't been arrested yet for anything. I was always gotten lucky. And he's like, "Go, you have a chance to play football in college. Go play ball. Just go make something. But just do me a favor. Can you keep an eye on my son?" And he was at that time, he was about 7.
yeah.
And just if there just please keep an eye, but I'm leaving. That's the last time I ever seen Eddie. And I'm like, okay, I went and the FBI clamped down. I didn't hear anything. I went
Mm,
off to school. And that's where my second part, when I was 19, I went off to school. And I'm in there in the dorm, and I started football. We're playing and not playing, but we practice it. And all of a sudden I see these two clowns showing up in their J.C. Penney polyester suits. And
huh.
I look at them, they're standing in the doorway and they want to talk to me. And I'm like, "What do you guys want? We got to have a chat." I'm like, "Who the F are you two?" And they show me their pretty little badges and their Department of, of Justice. And I'm like, "Oh, those are pretty. We need to talk. Are we maybe arrested? Do you want to be? We need to talk." So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do a fishing expedition. Let's see what these clowns want. So we went, and I'm sitting in the back of this, POS, or what do you, Chevy. And we went and got to this. I remember to this day, I can't forget this restaurant had a green roof. And I'm like, okay, this looks like a great place to go. So we went in there and said, "You want something?" I'm like, "Not really. I'll take some orange juice." And they got their coffee. And then the one guy looks at me and he just throws we weren't very talkative. They just threw a pamphlet and said, "Look at it, you're going to love these pictures." I'm like, whatever. So I open it up and there's pictures of me. There's pictures of my dad, me, and I'm with Eddie, with Dominic, with Nikki, and they're like looking at me like, you know what? We see what we got here. We got you. We know what you did. Well, you know what you've been into. And I'm like, you're looking at 75 years, prison with this new law called RICO. I'm like,
Whoa.
what? It's called the RICO law. He goes, you college boy, go look it up in your library at the university there. Come on, college boy. I never heard of it. She goes, brand new law. It's awesome. And I'm looking, so I'm like, oh, I don't give a shit. My dad, I don't care if he goes, I don't care if I will. I'm being honest. And then I go, look, I keep looking through it. There's pictures of my mom. My mom, my mom with Eddie, my mom with a couple other people, my mom talking, taking something from them. And they're like, yeah, we got everybody. Your dad's looking at about that. Your mom's looking about the same amount of time. And for some reason, that just hit me. That hit me so hard that I can't describe the feeling. I'm like my mom now. I grew up as a mama's boy. I
Yeah.
think everybody in the world, every man has been a mama's boy, most.
Mm.
And they say they weren't. I think they're lying because I talked to my mom every day till the day she died, and that got me, man. You said something against my mother, and we had problems. And I thought to myself, I could care less about my dad. I could. I could, so I'm like, what do you want? I just want you to think about it. We'll get back to you. So they dropped me off. And for a couple months, I couldn't eat. I stayed up at night throwing the ball up in the air and catching it. My stomach was killing me. It was eating me up. I played worse shit and book practices, you know, getting yelled at, like, what's your problem? This is not how you play. And I just couldn't do it. And then the two clowns show back up and go to talk. And I go, well, what do you want? And then I went and looked up what the RICO law was, a brand new law. And it was like everybody associated with everybody can be arrested.
Ooh.
They don't really have to prove anything. They just have to make it that you're associated with an incident that was happening. And
Yeah.
I'm reading into this, and I'm like, so I went to a professor too, and I asked her. He goes, "Yeah, why you ask? I just want to know because that's it, If you're an organized crime, you're screwed." I'm like, what?
Oh.
So that's what really got to me because I did. I went to look it up after they told me about it. They even gave me a piece of paper spelled out just in case I had an issue because I knew it. I was dyslexic, so I had enough time in school anyway. So I went and looked it up, and that's what I found out. And I'm like, holy
Yeah.
So
Oh.
they, yeah, they showed back up, and I go, what do you want me to do? And they're like, well, we'll let you know, but this is what we want you to do. It's September, almost, or I'm thinking, well, I think it was October. I think it's at the end of October. And they're like, well, why don't you just party your way out of school? So your olds play with the college girls. We'll give you some money. You just party your way out. Get your life. Get everything out of here right now. Just in case something happens and you end up going to jail, get your life. We'll give you all the way up till the end of the school year. So I did. I partied. I played with the girls, didn't do well in school and didn't do good well in football. And I ended up, at the end of the year, I ended up leaving school. And then I remember getting back there, and I haven't told my parents yet. I couldn't get it in me. And then these the idiots show up, and like, okay, we want to meet you at this, and so they a couple towns over, I went to another POS restaurant, and I walk inside. I didn't think this was even a Waffle House, some crap. And I'm sitting there, like, you want something? I go, really, no, I don't. I'll take whatever. I'll take coffee this time. So they said, what do you think? I'm like, what do you need me to do? I've already done my part. Am I done? No, no, no. So we want you to get on this police department. And I looked at him with this look like, are you shitting me? Wait, you want me to do what? We want you to get on and become a police officer in this department. And they gave me the name of the department. We want you to get on because we'll tell you after you get on what we're looking for, but we want you to get on. I'm like, you guys, seriously, yeah. And he goes, oh, I'm telling you, but when you get on, you can't talk about this. You talk to your mother, you talk to your father, any of your friends, anybody, the deal's off and you go to jail. I'm 20 at the time. I didn't know. And I said, yes, sir. So I go and then people ask me, what happened if you wouldn't have got on? They didn't give me, they just said, this is what you're going to do. Get on this department. There was no, they were very, like I said, they were talkful, very forthcoming with information. Never. The whole time I dealt with these clowns, they were just, this is what you need to do. It was like an ultimatum. Well, I got on. Back in that day, if you were physically fit and not a complete idiot, you could get on, especially physically fit part. So I got on, and I got on after I went to the academy, did a couple of weeks, and I'm thinking, but prior to that, after they told me to do this, I went back home. I got home, and then my mom's like, what's wrong? Oh, I'm going to tell you guys something. The mom, they were at dinner, and I go, I don't want to go back to school. Well, my dad drops a fork and just looks.
Oh.
What do you mean you don't want back to school? It's just not for me. I just don't fit in. Bullshit, Aiden. You're going back. No, I'm done. What are you going to do? What the F are you going to do with your everything that you did before are gone? And I go, I want to be a cop. My dad just looked at me. You're going to be a fucking flatfoot? Yeah, I want to be a cop. A fucking flatfoot? Are you freaking? He's just losing it. My mom's like, oh, he's just like, fuck. The words, I'm just looking at him, and it's in all kinds of languages. And he's like, get the fuck out of my house. I don't want to get the fuck out of here. So I go in the back room, I leave, and I'm in the back room. My mom comes in, she goes, Aiden, really? Really, a cop? No, I mean, if anything. I go, dude, she goes, well, if that's really what you want to do, I'll be behind you. Take some time away and go to your uncle's place until your father cools down. I didn't talk to my dad for almost just over 10 years after that day, because I became a flatfoot, especially after I got in the academy. He wanted nothing to do with me. So I get out, I get to this department, I'm on there for a couple months, and then they go, hey, I meet up with the two idiots. We want you to get on this, we want you to get close to this officer. His name was Terry. And I'm like, okay, why? I think the guy I know you're talking about he's a freaking ass. I could put this way. Terry was, have you ever met anybody with the most abrasive personality that you just hated and wanted to punch the minute you started talking to him?
Yeah, there's people like that for sure.
Yeah, this guy was on the top of the list. Nobody liked him.
Yeah.
And he's always talking shit, but it's okay. And I'm like, yeah, that's all right. I might, totally kind of guy I become a friend with over, and we're at roll call, and I go, hey. He goes, I go, I'm gonna maybe get close right along with, do some stuff with Terry over there. He goes, are you kidding me? The guy's an ass. I go, why would you? I don't know. One ever talks to him. Maybe he's just grumpy. He needs a friend. And they're like, oh, you're looking for punishment. So I'm thinking I gotta get close to this guy anyway. So I said, right, no, yeah, I'll ride with them. Seriously? Yeah, all right. Aiden, you're going with Terry. Terry just like, get the fuck in the car. Not very talkative either. And just talking shit about every time we drive by anybody, look at that, just big. And I thought to myself, I hate this guy. I truly hate this guy. And after a while, he goes, we start going out drinking. And that was the start of my downfall. So we started going out drinking. And we're at the bar. One night he looks at me and he goes, I like that you're riding with me. I was going to ask if we put together anyway. And I go, well, okay. And he goes, I know you. And I go, yeah, we're partners now and then. Yeah, I know you. He's like, no, I knew you when you were younger. How do you know me? Oh, well, I run with the crew over here, and I knew you ran with the crew in the bus, and I'm like, I really don't. We don't need to talk about that shit. You know what? Don't worry about my younger life. He's like, no, no, no. I work with a crew out here, and I thought to myself, okay, good for you. You know, don't make it public knowledge. You know, all I'm doing stuff with them, and we just start telling me that we drink, and it really was just bullshit conversation. So then I meet up with Dumb and Dumber again, and they're telling me, "Oh, I'm getting close to him. What do you need?" And he goes, "Well, we think this guy is working with a crew as a hitman while being a cop." And I laughed at him. I go, "So you want me to get close to this guy because you think he's a hitman for another crew, and you want me to find out, you know?" But you know, when I started this whole deal, they told me just to go get information that you're going in as an informant, not as undercover, so you have no backup. So if something happens, oh well, we could. That's okay. We'll be all right if you don't make it. We're okay with that.
Oh,
You know, it's the you're by yourself. And then when they tell me about what the guy's doing and get closer to him, I'm thinking, if this guy gets squirrely on me, I'm screwed.
yeah.
So I got closer, and then we went out. We really started drinking, hitting hard. Now Terry was a gulper instead of a drinker. I mean, he just drank to get drunk. You know, he just pounded the beer. You know, I saw him drink a beer in 15 seconds, a whole like a draft. And I'm like, what
Yeah.
the hell is up with this guy?
Yeah.
And he would just shots, and he's doing shots. So I'm drinking with him. And he's telling me, he goes, let me tell you, so I know about you ran with Eddie and them, that you ran with the tough ones. So I go, okay. And he goes, I'll do it. Let me tell you what I did. And he's telling me what he did. He said, they want me to hit this guy. I shot the guy in the back of the head, and I got to work. I'm the first one to call at the scene. I'm thinking,
Oh,
oh, wow, that's something to get away with. You hit somebody and you're the first officer, so your fingerprints are all over everything. So, wow.
God.
So but I told him, you need to shut up about this shit. I'm playing like, well, I don't want to hear this. So we would start drinking with his wife. His wife would come out with us, and she get low, and she's cried by me talking. Well, Eddie, let me tell you about, um, Aiden, let me tell you about Terry, what he's doing. I mean, I don't know, like, I'm like, you need to shut up. And we're getting drunk. We went back to his house one day, and I was helping him in because he was plowed. And I got her, and she's crying, and she goes, I can't. She goes, he told me he killed those people. I just don't know if I can live with it. You need to shut up and deal with it. So now we're going into close to 2 years with this guy. And I mean, I hated every minute. It was like nails on a chalkboard.
Mm.
So I went back, we met up with the two, and I'm like, finally. I said, you know what, guys, this guy admitted to it. I don't have anything because, we were drinking. It's just a spur of the moment. I don't think about bringing it every night. But the wife's done. She wants to come. She'll come to you guys. It's not that you can force her. She's willing to do it. She's at the I go, if you pump her, you got him. I'm like, oh, okay. And that was it. I went back. And about 3 months later, 4 months later, I get a call and say, hey, man, the FBI is all over us over here. Wait, this sounds familiar. And I go, what do you mean they're all over us? Yeah, they're all over. They arrested Terry. They're going through everything. People are here. And I'm like, oh, shit. So and we go back, and the place is in chaos. And everybody's like, I get talked to, and I'm like, I had no clue. I mean, we just rolled along. And nothing, that was it. And I like after like the third officer to leave because it was like rats leaving the sinking ship. So I left, and I met, I was waiting. I met with Dumb and Dumber again. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we got good information. The wife gave us everything, and so we want you, we want you to get in another department. I'm like, oh God, please, guys. Didn't I fulfill my deal? No. And you did a really good job. So they tell me we only got this another department. And when he told me the department get on, I looked at him and I'm like, no freaking way. You guys are assholes. They're like, we want you to get on the department where I grew up in. I'm like, why do I mean? Well, yeah, I know all those. I mean, growing up, I would deliver packages to all the politicians and all the bad police officers. They'd be sitting in the shop. I'd be like, "You a cop?" And they show me their badges, and the guy's getting money and telling information to Eddie. They want me to go to that apartment I grew up in. Now I knew all these guys,
Right.
especially the mayor. He was one of the ones I used to take the packages to and bring stuff back. And they want me to go with that, and the police commissioner and the police and fire commissioner, everybody. I mean, everybody was in Eddie's pocket. And I thought, why you? I look at him, I go, why? And they go, no, just get on. That's enough. No, we just get on. So I went over there, transferred, tested, got on, and when I got there with the mayor, they called me in and they said, "Hey, why do you want to come to our department? Why you still be a cop? Again, I heard you were so and so." Yeah, the FBI hit over there. I didn't like it over there in the first place. I want to go feel like more. I want to be more at home. And they're like, "Well, we know you're good stock. You're going to toe the line." "Yes, sir. Whatever you need me to do, I'll toe the line. You're going to do what you need to be done, what we tell you?" "Yes, sir. Whatever you tell me to do, I will toe the line." And the commissioner's like, he does. We know his word, who he ran with. He could be trusted. Then, "Yes, sir. Well, yeah, okay, Aiden, we'll be glad to have you on." I got on the department. And then they start telling me, "Hey, we want you to get information on this, on these guys, get information on the mayor, get him." And my times there, I probably had a gun pointed at me. I don't know, from a couple guys that were suspicious, about another 30 times. And I talked my way out of it. I told him, pull the trigger if you really think you can get away with it. Because remember, I go, you know who I ran with, and I have people that will come at your ass for doing something stupid like this. So I would get information. I got there easy because they trusted me. And I ended up putting several police officers and several politicians and commissioners in prison, with all the antics that they were doing and stuff. I mean, during the time though I was there, I was drinking, but I don't know if you ever heard of the blue line. And in law enforcement, it's called the blue line. When you're men and women law enforcement, you do not cross that blue line. You just put blinders on. You don't want to see what the other officers are doing unless it's super bad, and you're not going to say nothing about it. And I was having hallucinations while drinking of St. Michael with the flaming sword coming at me and said, "You have betrayed your brothers and sisters," and slashing at me. I'm freaking out. When I first started with the crew, it was family and respect. That was the big thing, is family respect. You don't go across the family, and you don't disrespect. And I'm going to say I never said anything against the crew or anybody I ran with, Eddie, Dominic, and I've never said anything, even though they thought I did, not Eddie. But anyway, Dominic thought I did. I never did, never said a word. I would have told them to get effed. I would have done my time. But when it came to bad police officers and politicians, I knew were bad. It started out me kicking and screaming, and I realized I started doing good, but it was getting me. I became an alcoholic. And during this time, with the betrayal, because blue line's the same thing, your brothers and sisters, because what you have to deal with, the public doesn't know about, that I was betraying them. So I attempted suicide. And I know of at least 200 or 300 times I used to have a 357 Magnum. I would put a Magnum round in, spin that Colt, and then pull the trigger. I put it in my temple, underneath my chin, in my mouth, and I would pull that trigger, and it never went off. Well, of course not. I'm here, but there's sometimes I would be passed out, wake up, there'd be 2, 3 rounds in that 357. And a couple times where the hammer would be back, or a couple times where it would be next one would have been the round. Died at least 1,000 times attempted suicide. For some reason, God said, "Yeah, we're not going to let you off there. We're not going to let you kill yourself."
That's
And
tough.
it was so. I remember just the darkness I was in because it was so hurt. thinking I'm hurting people. I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't tell anybody about it. I was married at the time. I was a bad husband, a bad father. I couldn't talk to anybody about it.
Mm.
And I kept it inside. And I was so conflicting on it that I was being such a, I was betraying everybody, and I was eating at me. So I went through all that during my time in law enforcement. But but then I look at it, and when these officers would get arrested and then eventually put away, it felt good. For me, especially the politicians. I love watching those apps go away. Even though I was very close to one of them, it still made me feel good because I knew what these guys did.
Mm.
And that was really my second part. And then at the end of it, after like 14 years at the department, they're like, "Hey, are you?" I was like, "I'm done," and they're like, "Well, we want you to go to the casino and check out who's running this casino. Get in there and the security." And once you get in security, you had keys to everything. And I'm like, I went back to them. These are just like frat boys. They're not doing anything wrong. They're having a good time making money, but they're not. I mean, after a year or two, I didn't see them doing anything. And then one day they came to me and they said, here's a little stipend. Peace out. And I was thinking that longer, maybe eventually I could become an agent. I really did.
Mm.
But it was the peace out, get the F out, we're done, bye. It was that quick, it was over with.
Right.
And at the casino, finally, it got to the point where during my time, I realized, boy, I really don't like my wife. She's, I would joke, back in the day, I would joke that I would, I was married to Satan's daughter, and that I would work for the other guy and collect souls because I was in such a dark place. And that
Yeah.
was my joke. And while I was at the casino, I met the love of my life, which somebody understands me that I never thought I would, that would even accept me to this day, no matter, how broken I am, that, hey, you know what? You can make yourself a better person, and works with me every day. And then what happened was I was having night terrors after all this, my wife and all this, and we're going several years, like maybe about several years ago. And after everything was said and done, I was throwing her around, having night terrors. I was having night terrors, screaming, punching at the wall, to handcuffing her, throwing her, yelling in different languages, just being out of control. She called my buddy Don, who's an officer at the department of last month. I grew up with him as one of my best friends. And my buddy Sam, who came over, and they're like trying to talk to me. But Don had to leave. And he's like, and then they were telling me, Sam's like, you got to get religion. And they were just saying, religion, my whole life, Don would say, hey, you need religion. You need religion in your life. You need some spirituality. And I just, I didn't want it. And Sabrina's like, you need religion. I'm like, no, I told you I work for the other guys. And Don had to leave, so Sam was stayed, and he's talking to me. He says, "Hey, I can read these books. I'm a Baha'i." And I'm looking at him. I go, "What the heck is this? What is a Baha'i?" It sounds like, And he's like, "Read these books on Abdul Baha'i and the readings of the Bab." And I thought, I don't like to read. I am not in a religion, And what is this? Some cult? Or is this like a thing with sister wives? Several wives I get? What? No, it's read it about. So I read it and all this, and I did just nothing. So one day I'm sitting outside in the sun and reading it, and I felt this warmth, this difference inside looking up, and I thought, wow, I got stomachache. So I go in, and Serena's like, "What's wrong?" I go, "I don't feel good." I feel this warmth. I was reading up the Bahai's writing. And she goes, "You're getting spirituality." I'm like, "Go to hell, I don't like it. This sucks. I don't want this." And started reading, I started believing it, and I became a Baha'i. And my buddy Sam told me, I said, the Baha'i believes men and women are equal. Like, there is no man, woman's not subservient to the man. We're equal. I've always believed that. And and everybody is equal, that the man, that red, white, pink, purple, green, there is no racism. We're all equal. I believed in 90%, and Sam would say, you were always Baha'i, but you didn't know.
Mm.
And then I became a Baha'i to where I am today. And I always joke that the God's got a sense of humor, because I tried to kill myself numerous times, let's just say, and he wouldn't let me do it. I've been stabbed about 20 times. And yeah, we're not gonna let you go. I've been shot several times. Yeah, we're gonna let you get through that too. You know, and then and I'm thinking, why? And I'm thinking he's got a sense of humor, because he says, I'm gonna give you ALS. And wait till that starts getting at you, buddy. You're gonna have a real fun time. And so I'm gonna get paid back for all the things I've done in my youth and working up, is how I look at it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that sort of makes a lot of sense, that all that stress upon your soul and your body manifests in something, but you've got your faith there to actually pull you through at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I do Rui class, and the funny thing is, we do Rui classes, which is like a Bible study. I do it twice a week, and this is for me. This is me, person who never believed in God and never did anything, and always worked for the other guy. But I did for 3 years. My wife Sabrina did classes with me. We classes 1 hour. We did 1 hour at that time, three classes, 3 times a week, 1 hour. Study with me, read, because my reading's not great, memory's not great. She reread the writing, reread the scriptures, and we go through it. And she did all the Baha'i things. She knows more about the Bahaifaith than I do, but she never converted. She stayed to her Christian beliefs, but she pushed me, and she pushes me now. Like, we watched Chosen, and to push me, like, I don't want to go to class tonight. She slapped me in the back of the head and get your stupid ass in front of the computer. I always joke my entire life, I've never been afraid of no man. I'm not afraid of anything. I could walk through dark. I could walk through the nastiest neighborhoods. I'm fine. My whole life, I was scared of two people in my whole life, and that's my mother and my current wife, Sabrina. They both scared the shit out of me. And, growing up, I never knew why my mom would scare me. My friend said, yeah, your mother scares me. There's something about your mom that scares me. I'm like, yeah, no shit. And then, when I finally talked to my dad about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
not quite that long, I'm sorry. It's only, I'd say about 5 years ago was when I talked to my dad, right after I started doing the Baha'i. And we actually talked, and we went off, and we met up to families. And he tells me, he goes, I go, why the mom was so scary? And he goes, she never told you most of it. You never really know. And I go, no. I go, other than when she was passing, she told me she was screaming that we're Jewish. She goes, well, yeah, she's Jewish, but when growing up in Budapest, it was not a thing to be Jewish, so her family hid it. Even though she had a brother, to really hide it, a brother that became a Stuka pilot, and they had another brother went in the SS, and a bunch of them that worked with the Hungarian army. But two of them went on the German side, even though they were technically Jewish, but they hid it. And I go, okay. She goes, but she was screaming when the Russians came in, and when she was about 10 years old, the Russians attacked and in Budapest, and they did very bad things, raping and all that to her and her sisters. And so she had a really bad thing. So my dad and them became partisans at 10 years old. And my dad said, your mother scared you because she was the worst that we had. I go, what are you talking about? She would have this long spear, And she would walk out there, and these little Russians, oh, look, little girl, what do you do with loss? And they start joking with her. And she's like, yeah, come here. She'd like talk up, and they'd bend down to talk to her. She pulled the spear out and stabbed them through the neck, both of them real quick. And if they were still breathing, stab another time, run away. And I
Wow.
looked at my dad, I go, seriously, Dad? Come on, no. She did that. Well, I'm gonna tell. We lost number. It was in the hundreds, Russian soldiers. She goes, we would throw Molotov cocktails at the tanks. She would actually run up to the tanks, go up to open the hatch, throw them in, and go off. Or find
Wow.
a spot and throw them out. Instead of throwing it, she bang it on it and run out. She hated the Russians so much that she would find any way to kill them. And they say everybody was scared that your mother was up. And I read a book that what your parents do as a child could be hereditary towards you as a person growing up. After my dad tells this, it explains that when I went to see a psychologist, they said, I have no empathy, and I don't. I have no empathy for people. Something happens to you, whoa, damn, it sucks to be you. I might laugh. I also a borderline psychotic and a sociopath because that's the way I grew up, seeing the blood of God. To me, I can't watch what do you call it? I can't watch any movies or like scary movies with my wife because I laugh throughout the whole thing. Someone's head gets blown off or ripped off, or someone gets their arm ripped. I think it's funny. I
Yeah.
don't know why. To me, it's hilarious. I've seen many people hurt, blood, spattering, giving their last breath, and I'm like, yeah, well, it sucks to be you. It is what it is. I just don't know why, and I fight with that every day. Even though I got religion, I still have that feeling. And I'm gonna tell you, when I was hurting people, I loved it, and I don't know, and that to this day, it's just the way I am. It's the way I'm wired.
Mm.
So I learned that a couple of years ago too. It explains why my mom was so scary because of what they went through during World War II and then all the way up to 56 when they were partisans going after the Russians. My mom really hated Russians, and when I found out what they did to her, that explains it. Now, growing up, she always hated Russian. Whenever we saw Russians, she'd be like, "Oh, get away from those filthy Russians." So I'm like, okay, just a dude with an accent to me. So
Wow.
that's kind of my life in a nutshell.
Yeah, wow, that's tough. I mean, it sounds like you had the warrior's blood thanks to your mother, but also not thanks to her experiences. I mean, it would have been really awful for her to actually go through all of that and then transmit that through to you. And it sounds like your ongoing trouble with that in your life turned into, well, first of all, it helped you bloom into the Baha'i faith, which is a very positive thing. But then you've got the negative influence there that came through too, which is the ALS and how that affects your body over time. But reaching back into your understanding of the Baha'i faith, when it was started to click with you, what was it that actually drew you to it?
What really drew me, other than my buddy Sam really pushing it, was that the fact that men and women are equal,
Mm.
that there is no, in most, like you look at the Baptists, the woman's subservient to the man. I've always, growing up, my mom ran the household. I don't care where you lived, the women run their household. And they made decisions together. And that's another thing with the Baha'i faith. And the fact that, I'm getting to the point that everybody's equal, that it's the whole spiritual aspect that it's equal. And it's not forced upon you. You learn as you go. It's not an overnight thing, and nobody could be what is expected as what the Bob expects. And I get told, be the best Baha'i you can be. And you're not really supposed to swear, where I swear pretty bad. I swear really bad. Um, you're not supposed to drink. Oh, okay, I do. I drink. I mean, my medicine says no drinking. I'll skip the medicine and have a cocktail now and then. And not supposed to. I'm working on that. I was really bad alcoholic, so just to drink a little bit is bad enough. But having a beer or two. And there's a lot of things that you don't do, but you be the best Baha'i you can be.
Mm.
You can defend yourself. You can do this. Um, but it's a lot of things that they frown upon. I'm working on. But as far as like unity with people that go out and talk to people, I think we're all like, no, I don't, no more racism, no more anti-Semitism,
Mm.
none of that stuff. That needs to go. If we can work together as behind us, work together. And I work nowadays with special needs young men and women. That's my big passion now.
Mm.
Special Olympics. We working with the special needs young men and women around where I live, and we just do. I do stuff with them like Saturdays, Sundays. Usually, I spend at Special Olympics. Next weekend, I'm going to be gone doing stuff with them, and I enjoy it. If we could do the world through their eyes, it's like, oh, there's Aiden, my friend. Give me a hug. Oh, and I see him. I like him. Unless you hurt them, everybody you see in black, they don't care what color you are. They don't care what religion you are. There's my friend. I want to give him a hug. If we can look at the world in their eyes, that's a Baha'i faith that
Mm.
love everybody for who they are. And I yes, was I racist? Yes, absolutely. We had a name for everybody when I was growing up, especially my younger age. But we also learned respect. If you gave me I give you respect until you disrespect me. But I learned, I don't care what race they are, Eddie would put this in me that give them respect. I don't care if they're black. I don't care if they're what Jewish. I don't care if they're give them respect. If they respect you, then you respect them. We worked with the gangs out there. One thing we had was no drugs, no drugs. Don't let the gangs, I can't say the words he used, but let the gangs sell to the gang, to their neighborhood. But we would get a percentage since they're working in our territory. And when we did things, we would give them a respectful percentage. So we worked together. And it didn't matter that the gangs by us were 90% black. We worked together and he's respecting. And in the Baha'i faith, there is no color. We're colorblind. And that's the way the world should be. Get rid of racism. We don't need that shit. We don't need anti-Semitism. You know, we don't need this cancer culture and all that stuff. We just got to work together as a friend.
Mm.
That's what really drew me into the Baha'i faith.
Nice, nice. Now, you've actually taken all of your life story and you've put that into a book that's called Conflicting Loyalties. What message do you hope readers take away from your book?
Well, what I want to talk about, what I hope they have is that they think that, hey, there is somebody out there getting to bad police officers and politicians and there's the fact that they could start out in being in crime. They could be a very bad person, and they can go 90 degrees or 180 and just be a better person. They can come out of that dark place I was in the shadows, into the light and be a productive part of society. That, yes, there are people out there, because nowadays in law enforcement, for one bad police officers make 100,000 good men and women in law enforcement bad. Oh my God, they're all bad police officers. They're going to do this to me. 99% of the police officers in the United States are not bad people. You may have 5% that abuse their authority, but that's it. But that little percentage makes everybody look bad. And I want to make sure that people understand that there are people taking down the bad police officers. I want people to understand that you could be bad and come into the light. Religion, spiritually, will help you. You could find the love of your life. You may think, I'm never going to find love. This sucks. Yeah, my first marriage sucked. We weren't truly meant for each other. But then you find the love of your life. Even though Sabrina, when she was 16 years old and not knowing this, I was an officer. I just started out, I was a couple of years in. I had a call for an underage at a nightclub. 16-year-old. Bring her. She was kind of crying and not really, it's like more of a sobbing. And she's just like, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to talk to her. I'm like, this girl's cute. not knowing until her uncle said, "Yeah, hey, she got arrested that time by an officer. It was me. I arrested her when I was in my late 20s and she was 16." And then 20 years later, we meet. And her uncle's like, "Yeah," because he was a police officer. He goes, "She was arrested at 16. Give me a date." I look it up. It was me arrested her.
Oh,
So whatever, that serendipity, whatever. But you can find this. And I want my book to let people know that there is hope. But you
mm,
know what? It's a screwed up life. I didn't want to write this book. I'm going to tell you right now. I did this kicking. My buddy Sam said therapeutically, write the book. He knows about 85% of what I did in my life, maybe 90. But he said, write a book. This is a messed up life. I didn't know. I knew some of the stuff you were doing, but wow. Because, Don, same thing. Don, who helped me not knowingly until I talked to him about it several years ago, and he beat the crap out of me, giving me information, not knowing I was doing what I was doing because I couldn't talk to him about it. And neither could I tell Sam. And they're like, wow, we figured something, but Aiden, we didn't know until, that makes sense because everything, yeah, that makes exact sense because what was happening is right around you. Realize you were the cause of the chaos.
mm,
And I didn't want to write the book, but they said, therapy, write the book.
mm,
And it's a memoir. So when I wrote the book with a ghostwriter, and it's, oh, I remember this. Oh, yeah, there was that. And I go, oh yeah, I remember. And you're going down. So we had everything right, and they sent over what we were doing. And my wife were reading, and she's like, seriously, you're not going to keep it this way. Like, what are you talking about? You're 16, you're 28, you're 14, you're 20, you're back to 22, then you're back to 14. You're all over the place. It's not flowing. I'm like, well, we'll get together. So she put it together and made it flow. And when they turned it in, the public's like, wow, you did a really great job doing this. I'm like, yeah, I didn't do any of it. But again, with my book, I just want people to know that there is people out there to stop this, and that there is hope, that you could be in the darkest place, that spiritually there is something spiritual. If you use it spiritually, go talk to a priest, go talk to a rabbi, go talk to whatever it is with the Muslim, go talk to a police officer if you have problems, or even talk to a community leader, talk to somebody. Don't keep it in yourself and go through the dark times of attempted suicide and everything I've done. That if you talk to somebody, maybe spiritually, you'll find that, and it's going to help you. And then also that, you know what, there's not bad, all police officers aren't bad. There's people taking the bad ones out. That's why I hope the message will be brought with the book.
mm. Good. Yeah, it's a good message. I've got one question for you though, Aiden. Do you think that part of your book is being able to give forgiveness to yourself for all you've done?
You know, I'm going to be honest, I have no regrets.
Okay.
I might have changed a couple things, but I wouldn't be at this point in my life where I am right now if I wouldn't have done what I've done. Um, yes, I believe it's given me some. It's let me open up, so I'm not as bad as I was keeping everything in. You know, I think that biggest part. Yeah, you're right. I think it does. It's going to help a little bit with me bringing it out myself mentally. Um, but like I said, I don't regret everything I've done. Uh, but that's about how I feel with it right now.
Nice. It sounds like you're actually coming into a great place of peace with this. So that's a good thing. Now, we're coming towards the end of the podcast, Aiden. I thank you so much for everything that you've shared. I just wanted to ask you, how can people find your book? I can see it here. It's on Amazon, and it's got 124 ratings and 4.8 stars. That's fantastic. So is that the best place for people to find your book?
No, actually, the best place to find it is conflictingloyalties.com.
Oh, okay.
That will tell you It'll tell you every mantra. It's in everywhere from Barnes and Nobles to Amazon to Target. It tells you everywhere you can go, and it'll tell you the best place to buy it for the best price. It will also tell you a little bit about the book and explain that you may, what, well, man, we're on the board. Let me see what kind of book this is. It will explain, but conflictingloyalties.com is the best place to go for it.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. What I'll do is I'll put that link in the show notes, and I just want to thank you for sharing of your story and your wisdom around how you've changed and how your coming to faith has actually helped you to find peace in your life as well. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Aiden. It's very appreciated.
CJ, thank you for having me on. It was an honor being on the show. And again, thank you so much, sir.
All right. Okay, I'll just say goodbye to listeners. If you've enjoyed today's show with Aiden, please, like and subscribe. That'd be really good. I do like that on the pointing down on the video for YouTube. Aiden had to obviously scramble his voice, and his he wasn't actually he didn't present an image of himself during that whole time because of the work that he's done in the past. Because there's probably a lot of people that aren't so happy with him, exposing them and such. So yeah, what a story. It's mind-boggling, and just it's interesting that part when he's talking about his mother and what she went through during the Second World War and how it turned her into a warrioress, basically, and that pretty much put a signature into her timeline, which was fed through into Aiden, which made him into the character that he was as well. So, all power to him for discovering, all of that part of the story of himself. It gave him greater understanding, and then that also speaks to how we've got to work on our shadow and our ancestral lines, because if we don't, then some of the reactions and actions that we take are coming from these what would you call, like marks upon our genetic history. So if you've enjoyed today's show, as I said before, like and subscribe. And if you're in the podcast app, please give us 5 stars. That'd be really awesome. I mean, most people won't even do that, but share it to one friend. That'd be cool too. And I've appreciated the time that you've shared by listening to the show. So yeah, until next episode, it's bye for now.